YouTubers. The reason why I'm going live today, which I was trying to wait until I got everything set up, but I'm kind of like, unsettled, if I can put it that way, and I try to be as humble as possible. I would just like to get on here and let people know that don't know me, know a little bit about me. I was born on the north side of Chicago. As a kid, man, life was beautiful then when I was a kid. I enjoyed it. As I grew up, we moved to the west side. I was over on Ogden and Warren, and that's when King got killed. And that was the first time I ever seen something so devastating in my life. They had the National Guards there, the Army. I seen guns pulled on kids. They pulled a gun on my sister. And I was asking my mom, man, why is all this going on? And she said a very important black man was killed. And she was talking about Martin Luther King. So growing up, I moved from there over to Central Park in Jackson, where I went to Marshall Upper Grade. And, that's when I got into trying to learn how to dance. No, let me go back. When we were staying on Warren and Ogden, I went to Skinner School, and at night they would have like little game room basketball, and then after so long they would clear everything out the hallway, set up the music, and they would bop in the hallway. That's when I learned how to bop. So from there, then again, now I'll pick back up with Marshall. I seen all the hip cats, all the players, pimps, on Madison Street, and I got my first job as a shoe salesman at a store called Z Wallace on Madison and Ogden. Man, I had the best mother. Although my father wasn't in my life at the time, I had the best mother that was a mother and a father. And, she tried to get the best of everything for us. It was times we struggled. As I got a little older, we moved out south, and my dad bought a home built from the ground. And I met a lot of friends over there, and some of them weren't the best, the best crew to pick to hang out with. I had one friend that, I'm not going to give out any names, but that was my guy. We came up together. We did things together. You know what I'm saying? I became a stick-up man. I would walk in the store, broad open daylight, man, with that thing in my hand and demand what I wanted. Stealing cars, so after that, my mom and my dad separated, and my mom bought a 2-flat building out on 121st. And that's when I really got into the game. You call it pimp, whatever, I did it, and I suffered the consequences behind it. And I ended up, couldn't nobody tell me nothing. I said, hey, I wasn't going back. And I ended up doing another prison bit. My house got raided. This time when I got out of prison, I stuck to it. But while I was in there, my mom passed. And that was my best friend. Everything I did, I told her. And even though she told me it was wrong, still she gave me that good word, and I didn't take heed to it. But after that, I traveled, I moved around, I rode around. You know what I'm saying? I was from the north side to the west side, handling business. And when I got out of the joint, I started getting high. Yeah, I'm an ex-addict. I got 20-something years clean time now. I learned that we all take falls, but when we hit rock bottom, we got to know how to get back up and make a change. And I made that change in 2013, thanks to New Hope Baptist Church in St. Paul and Sammy Watkins at the Union Gospel Mission. I stayed there for 3 years. Man, they taught me what boundaries was, what commitment was, what honesty was, what trust and loyalty is, and New Hope taught me how to be humble, and I was in the choir for a few years. We traveled maybe once, I think, and I changed my whole life, period. So I'm just putting this out here to say that people think that they know me, don't know me. If you knew the real me, you probably wouldn't want to be around me. But people change, and I've changed a lot, and right now, I don't even want to answer the texts on my phone because I've learned that people take your texts and they turn them around in a whole different form and fashion to make them sound like what they want them to sound like. Not what they really are or what's being really said, but what they want it to sound like. And I still stayed humble about it. So I've just made the conscious decision not to even look at any texts today because I still got to see that one first. So, I'm just saying, man, I done did it all. I done been there, did that, done that. And I didn't accomplish anything out of it. But with the new change, the new me, I've accomplished a lot. And I'm where I want to be now. I'm happy. I'm trying to think of the right word to say for it. But I'll just say I'm happy where I'm at. And I'm not going to allow anyone or anybody to take that joy away from me. Because now I'm doing things that's what's the word? That's more responsible. Even though when I was traveling at first and it was because I was doing the street life, now I'm traveling, meeting new people, going to new places, learning new things. I took up a year of college and I know my mom was pissed at me when I stopped. But then back in 2019, I went back to technical college and I took up entrepreneuring and business, and I got my certificate in it. I passed with flying colors, so I know how to be a businessman. I know how to start a business, and so when people come at me and think that I don't know, man, I let them say and think what they want to. I know I can be a successful businessman if I want to. I've had plenty of jobs. I was a manager for 15 years at McDonald's, although McDonald's, some people don't call it a job, but I was a manager, an assistant manager, you know, a team leader, you know what I'm saying? Because I knew how to talk to people, you know, so I'm just saying, if anybody want to know me or get to know me, stop me, sit down and talk with me. You know, I ain't got no secrets. My life is an open book. I can write a book about it. You know, so my thing is today why I got on here, because I felt I really didn't have anyone to talk to. So why not talk to the world? You know, so you can get their insight and their response on it, because everyone ain't gonna say the same thing. Some might, but everybody is not gonna say the same thing. It's gonna be something different that they see or hear. You know, so, you know, I truly appreciate everybody for joining in. I really appreciate everybody for joining in, and if it didn't get through, you know, because I forgot to tap the button, but if it didn't get through, you know, I will come back again, you know. Just hit me in my DM about what I was speaking about, and it's basically about change and being humble and not letting anybody take you out of your element. Because a lot of us got it bad trying to take people out of their elements. You know, so again, like I said, you know, I'm a new person now. And if you want to know me, man, reach out to me. I'll sit down and tell you anything you want to know. You know, and one thing I learned, and this is what I've said about this podcast that I'm trying to put together. I don't talk about nothing that I don't know about, or I haven't went into research and did my research in. It might take a week, it might take a month, it might take a couple of days. I'm not going to speak on it if I don't know about it. You know, so again, I appreciate everybody for tuning in, but I just had to let this out. I had to vent. And I had to vent to somebody, and like I said, there's nobody better to vent to the world. You know, so thank you. Peace out. Steve, podcast on the Sir Hollywood. Be safe, be blessed, and stay alive. Peace out.